Thanks, and thanks to the Zibia team for actually arranging another wonderful edition of the conference. Um, it's a pleasure to be here on a Saturday, and thanks to all the folks who have joined us today and are here to be able to attend this session. Um, Anand gave a wonderful talk, but just my advice: if you are, if a doctor has told you to take blood pressure medicines, don't skip that. Make sure that you do take that, and you can talk about inner engineering, but do take your blood pressure medicine. I'm expected to take that, and I do take that. So no compromises there. So the topic today is what's in it for me, and you know. For the longest time, many of us have struggled to be able to understand that, what we talk and preach in the lean agile community is so damn logical, right? It makes sense. But yet people don't jump to it. People don't respond in the manner that, that we think people would be responding to. And so we have tried to figure that out, and the outcome of that process is what I'll be sharing today. I hope you guys are able to see my slides. I'll start with just two slides on our introduction. First, about the company that I work for, which is Digitech. We build products for lean agile software development.
Sorry, Sudipta, we can't see the slides. Maybe if you want to share the screen.
Let me do that again then. My apologies. Are you able to see it now?
Yeah, we are good, Sudipta. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mithu. So if you are in the IT services industry, Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro, HCL Tech, Virtusa, Hexaware, ITCs, and so you name it. If you're in the IT services industry, you would be using a product. It might not be called a Digitech because we let people co-brand them, but your project management and execution platform would be ours. In the Agile community, we have products for both Kanban, Scrum, and Scaled Agile. I think in the Kanban community, we are the top 3 Kanban tools out there, really focused in terms of continuous improvement using flow and lean thinking. And we continue to introduce elements of AI across all our products. So you'll increasingly see features that are really pretty world-class in that sense. Like Mithu said, I think my screen share would have stopped again. Give me a minute. So as Mithu said, I've been in the industry for a fair amount of time, and I am a very passionate advocate of the whole lean agile literature and the body of knowledge. It is sometimes very embarrassing to actually kind of think about how we used to do detailed estimation. I used to be a function point trainer for many years as part of my career in HCL, and but that was a different time and a different age. At today's, the kind of applications that we build, and today's it's the kind of tools and technologies that we have today, we are really enabled for agility, and therefore we follow that ourselves. We help our customers do that. I also chair the Kanban India conference edition. We have that just in the coming weekend. So if you have not yet registered, look forward to seeing you there. It would be a good conference. So with that, let me go into the problem statement. I think fundamentally it boils down, the problem statement is that we are all working hard, much harder, despite all the technologies and tools and, email, collaboration platforms. We are all working harder and harder and harder. Yet, if you really understand the satisfaction level of individuals, that is not improving. If anything, that is only coming down. People are getting burnt even a lot more. People are multitasking a lot more. Productivity gains have come down. And I think this has even been further accentuated in the last 10 months with COVID, because the work and life boundaries have been completely blurred, right? So we are struggling to figure out that how do we make our people understand and align to what the message that we want to give. So we think we are saying the right message, people are not resonating with that message. India is perhaps even worse because saying no is a very difficult proposition in our culture, right? So therefore, we as managers and leaders tend to kind of assume that if we give something, if we tell something, it's going to be done, no matter what's on the guy's plate, whether the guy is interested or not. So, so when we started our journey, I think after many years, we felt that, hey, we still have something missing. We are following a lot of the practices, we are following a lot of the ceremonies, we are following a lot of what we preach that we should be doing, but the body language of our people just doesn't resonate in a manner that we expect it to. So we started looking somewhere else, and some of you might have read Vineet Nayyar's book called Employees First. Vineet Nayyar used to be the CEO of HCL Tech for many years. And he wrote this book called Employees First. And the basic premise was that if your employees are taken care of, if they are happy, if they are satisfied, they will ensure that your customers are taken care of. So the pitch that they made in that book was very, very opposite to what most organizations have always talked about, which is being customer first, right? And so therefore, being customer first, it was always that, hey, if a customer crisis needs to be taken care of, let's get that done, figure out, doesn't matter where an individual is. But I think, and that perhaps is still going to be the case. But if you take care of the employee first, the way the pattern would change is that the employee would themselves do things that would automatically take care of the customer. And therefore, that crisis would be avoided much ahead of time than where you will finally find yourself in. So it's an easier said than done approach, right? Many of these things, one of the problems or one of the sentiments that I often have in many of the conference talks is they're all very logical. They're all very right. The problem is, how do we get that done? How do we start doing it? How do we execute it, right? There's a huge gap between the principle and its execution, between what we say and what we do across the level, and that's true for perhaps most managers, most leaders, most teams, most lean agile practitioners as well. So what I'm going to talk about today is to have to give you a little more micro level execution ideas in terms of how you can go about doing it, how we have done it. So we started by asking the question that, do we really understand our people? Do we really understand why they are with us, right? And we are a very small company. By all global standards, we are an absolutely piddly company. So we're a very, very small company. We know every individual. In fact, in our leadership team, we know each one of us from our previous companies from where we were working together before we even came together back in Digite. So we know each other very well, even in our personal lives. But yet the question is, do we really know everybody? Knowing them is very different from understanding them. And there's a world of difference between those two attributes. So if you make an attempt to understand them, understand the purpose, why they are with you, then the question becomes that, hey, as a team or as an organization, are we fit for purpose for them? And we went into this literature of understanding fit for purpose. This is a body of work that was done by David Anderson and Alexei, and it's been around for almost 2 to 3 years, perhaps. But they essentially highlight the fact, and this is not really about lean agile, but it's about understanding your markets. So what they say that take a simple pizza shop as an enterprise. If they're delivering pizzas to a bunch of hungry kids who have come back from their football practice, they have a very different expectation and objective. They need to be fed cheese pizza fast, right? At that point of time, it doesn't really matter whether it's hot or cold, whether it's the quality of the ingredients. They need to be fed fast. If you're 10 minutes late, that's 10 minutes more tantrum in the house, correct? Whereas if you take the other side, if you are going to offer, order for pizza from the same shop for an office lunch, working meeting, that kind of an environment, your expectation is very different. You want good quality pizza to be served hot. Even if it's 10 minutes late, it's okay. The world will not break. It's not that, you'll have a crisis on hand. Very different expectations, very different market segment for the same pizza delivery shop. And clearly the pricing points also can accordingly vary, right? The cheese pizza for the kids could be priced much differently from the price points where you're delivering your pizza for your office colleagues. So what they talk about is that it becomes important to understand that for the market segment that you have, three things have to be clearly identified. First, what is the recipe? What is the design of the product or whatever you're building? What is the process in which, how that's going to be done? How is that product going to be delivered? How is that service going to be delivered? So design is step one. Step two is the ingredients, right? Clearly, the ingredients in one market segment is very different from the ingredients in another market segment. And with ingredients will come the price, will come the level of attention of detail that you're doing, will come the level of sensitivity to the precise temperature at which the pizza is being baked. Correct? So you need to get it way more precise depending upon the market segment that you are addressing. And last but not the least, this is perhaps absolutely I would say underappreciated, is that it needs to be delivered. The service has to be delivered. And it makes a world of difference about who is delivering and how they are delivering your product or service, whatever you're delivering to your customer, right? Most product companies like mine, we are obsessed with our engineering teams, as if engineering will make the world of difference. Of course they would. A bad product will not sustain. But at the end of the day, it's going to be finally either be an implementation team that's going to roll it out at our customer base, or it's going to be a bunch of support people who are going to handhold the customer all through the life of the product that they are customers. So very clearly, they are the front end face as far as we are concerned, as far as that product or service is concerned. And if that organization is weak, if their delivery capability is weak, you have a big problem at hand. So for any organization, it is extremely important to have the design, the engineering, and the delivery mechanism, all these three absolutely well thought out. If you look at the airlines industry, you will notice that a bulk of the frontline support or their cargo support or their baggage handling support, it's outsourced. It's outsourced to a Menzies. And you will see that anytime you have a problem, it's a nightmare that you have to deal with them, because for them, you're just another kid on the road. It just doesn't matter to them at that point of time whether you are, a United Airlines customer or an American Airlines customer or a Jet Airways customer. And that's what happens when you sometimes very, dispassionately outsource what you think is trivial. So it becomes important, therefore, for any organization to understand your market segment. And we took that principle and applied it to our people and say, hey, do we understand our people? Because all our people are coming from different background, different value systems, different cities, different states, different, socioeconomic background. Do we really understand? Do we understand what's going on in their mind? What are their own expectations? What are they expecting from the organizations that they are working with? And do we have some kind of metrics to be able to understand that, are we serving those metrics well? Are we serving them properly? Are we serving them right? So here's an example of the data is obviously not exactly for Digite, but but it's exactly the same pattern for us. We have on-prem customers like Infosys, Cognizant, Wipros of the world, which are huge, large enterprise accounts, huge, large enterprise sales teams, need a very different attention and very different focus and a very different way of being engaged with the customer. We have 20, 30 user accounts, a whole bunch of them, hundreds of them who are using our tools, and we hardly have any one-to-one connect with them, right? Both are important. Now it's a question for us to be able to understand as an organization, what do we want to do? Serve them all equally well, focus on one, less focus on another. That's the decision for the organization to make. So we need to understand the positions from each of a customer segment. Think now about your people segment, where they are coming from. Bring in your frontline staff into your discussions, the people with whom your customers are dealing with. So in our case, that means that we need to get feedback from our team leads and our direct mentors, career mentors, as we call them, for each of those people, for us to be able to understand what that person is feeling about. Clearly, if you're overserving a market, we need to reduce our service level. And if you're underserving a market that is precious to us, that is a core to us, then obviously we need to figure out what do we need to do a better job there. And the same approach works with your people. So if you have people, there's a lot of talk about gig economy and, people will be, we can build a company largely with gig economy. And it really baffles me, because on one side, the same people will go ahead and say culture eats strategy for breakfast. Now, what culture does the organization have if that organization is largely built based on contractors and a gig economy principle? So it's perfectly okay to be able to have a healthy percentage of contracting staff support you, so that you have some flexibility in terms of when you do whatever you need to do. But how can you largely think about just building an organization team just with people who have no association to your organization or your team at the mind level with whom you can connect? Remember, we are dealing with people, we are not dealing with machines. So we used this approach. It's called fit for purpose. It's typically different from the NPS score or the CSATs that many of you would be familiar with, in the sense that many of the NPS or CSAT formats that we have always used, you already have predefined what I'm going to ask the question. Is my UX great? Is my functionality great? Is my performance good? How is my support team performing? You are asking him a set of questions that you think is valuable to the customer, and then you align, the rest of the format accordingly. In a fit for purpose structure, you are essentially letting it free and letting the person think about what is most important to them. So if you notice, we tell them to say, what are the top 3 objectives of why you are with us? Whether it's a customer, whether it's an employee. What are the top 3 reasons why you are, top 3 purposes why you are with us? And then on each of these purposes, help us understand how you will score us, and give us some verbose commentary on why you are scoring us, whatever you are scoring us. So if you take this approach, then you will be able to go ahead and once you get the feedback, break it up into this 2x2 grid. On one side, you're looking at market segments and trying to understand that, okay, these are all the segments of people that I have, or segments of customers that I have, some of which I would really like to nourish and focus on, some of which I may not like to nourish, and I might be perfectly okay to have them go. I will just deal with it and work strategically to be able to move them out and get a fresh bunch of people whose market segment aligns with the way my thought process is. And then for each of the segments, you then assess based on the scores that people are giving you, how well you're doing, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. Very clearly, the zone 1 is your target market segment, where if the people who are satisfactory, you would like to make sure that that population grows, they stay that way. And in contrast, people wouldn't in zone 3 need to be thought about how we can move to zone 2 and to zone 1. So we designed a survey for our own, for one of our product lines. And we did this exercise and we said, okay, please help us understand 3 reasons or objectives why you are with us. and then rank us that how far is your current team or Digite serving that purpose. Okay. Uh, Pretty interesting feedback. What we learned the first time we did this with the product line is that a significant percentage of the population, almost 40%, were saying that our expectations are being met. And this percentage was higher for the most important objective. It was slightly higher, not significantly higher, slightly higher. So on the first expectation that people said that they had, we were matching almost 45%. Okay. For the second expectation that people had, we were not performing well at all. We were only about 35% met. And for the third criteria that people had, we were again reasonably okay. Okay. So what it helped us understand is that, okay, we still have a good 15 to 20% of the population, which does find us that for the purpose that they are with us, we are not doing great. So this is how that survey feedback looks like, right? So everybody has three objectives and purpose, right? So you 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, and then you see the score. And then when you kind of consolidate that feedback, so you kind of take all the similar things together and put them into one bucket, and for every incremental score, you give it an incremental +1. This was the pattern that it showed us in our case, right? Now, it is very obvious here that when it comes to our work culture, environment, how we were dealing with people, work satisfaction, we were doing pretty well. We were not doing well in terms of both compensation as well as career growth. Correct? So clearly that was an underserved expectation. And what you saw is a market of expectations and purpose that we were serving well. Okay, so when we got this feedback, this is how we broke these objectives into. We said, okay, career growth and compensation will not be my target segment, right? Because we are a very flat organization, and we just don't want to create hierarchies of people. So we will have people go up the technical track, but there just aren't that many positions for people for us to promote them every 2 to 3 years. Similarly, on the compensation side, we know that, okay, we are not going to be the 95 percentile paying organization within the IT product company space. But very clearly, our target segment would be where we really give an awesome work culture and an environment, a great skills and technology, work-life balance, vision, team appreciation. And so what came out from the first years of survey is that, okay, we need to do as an organization something to improve and work towards our work-life balance. We need to do something towards our skill and technology. And definitely we were not doing well in terms of giving adequate appreciation to our people, as well as communicating our vision to them. Okay, so you see that now what we have done is we have a great insight in terms of precisely understanding what exactly our people want and how far we are able to meet in terms of their expectation, their purpose. We acted on it. And a year later, we did this with our entire team, not just one product line. What we saw was work-life balance and work culture environment had improved. Okay. Vision and team appreciation did not appear anymore. Okay. So which means that it was not felt as a pain area or something that we were lacking in. Clearly, we were wanting still in terms of the skills and technology that we had. Okay. And that made sense to us because obviously we're a product company. There is a product with a certain technology that we have. It's not easy to completely throw that around and jump into something new. Right. So now for the next year, for year 3 now, Our challenge was to actually make this move happen. And we have been doing well in that journey. And I'll show you some of the net outcome of all this way of analysis and planning and inputs that has helped us within our organization. Now, the problem is that this does not end here. This is still a very macro level view, right? So if you think about what I started with is that we go to people with one sales pitch on why lean agile thing is the greatest thing that has happened to the software engineering world. And some people say, okay, bulk of them say, who cares, right? Okay, great. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. I don't know if that's been the response many cases you have had. That definitely has been the response that I have seen in my own organization in many cases. I've also seen it in many of our customers' organization in many cases, which is the message is logical, but it just does not resonate. There is just no emotional attachment to that message. So we were getting positive feedback. People were saying that change is happening. Yes, we are moving in the right direction, but it was largely a passive acceptance. It was largely, you guys do what you need to do. Tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. So we said there's something got to be more. Something is still not clicking. Okay. And at that point of time, I happened to attend a keynote by a gentleman, Anil Sharma, who's an HR professional with Synopsys. And he actually introduced us to another body of work. So let's understand this one. Why do people want to work? People fundamentally want to work because they expect to be a part of a team where together as a team, they can build something more than what they could have done individually. So if I'm building a product and the product does well, they are now part of a team and have created an outcome, which is creating a global product of a world-class scale that is far more than what they could have done individually. We just don't recognize this. We think people are there for money, people are there for a promotion, people are there for an incentive. Yes, they are, but they are much more at the superficial level. If you can give them an opportunity and make them understand that, hey, we have a goal and a vision to build something as a team that is more than what you could have individually done, you will get far better alignment and response. But it takes effort, because that means that you have to understand that person, you have to understand that individual. So we looked at Professor Durr's work. He used to be in Baylor University. This is very old work, 1960s, behavioral science work. And essentially what he taught us is to understand the orientation of a person. And what he said is that people fall into these buckets. There are people who really want to move fast in the organization hierarchy. There are people who value job security a lot. Right? Many people in large organizations, many people in government setups, they value stability. They are not looking for every day some new excitement in their life. In fact, if they get that, that will disturb them. They just can't handle that kind of unstable environment. Then there are the sales guys, right? The hunter sales guys who love to go and make a kill, right? They are your challenge guys. They'll get bored if you make him do the same process document same day, 1 hour per another. Then there are people who like freedom. Think about the guys who are in the research labs. You can't tell them, oh, fill your ROI document and fill this process document and then sign this checklist. He said, buzz off. That's not what I'm going to do. And then there are a majority who are a balance of all of these. Now we somehow assume that all of our team members are exactly in the same mold. Nothing can be further from the case, right? So we started understanding one person at a time. And what we asked them is, if you notice here, hey, what kind of careerist are you? And yeah, as far as that aspiration of that career is concerned, how far are you able to meet it within Digitech? Now, many of you might be thinking that, hey, this is a very HR question and should we get into it? Well, who cares? If you're in a team where you're able to have an influence with your team members, it's worthwhile to know them to this much extent that, hey, do I really understand what does this guy want? So very clearly, if you see, here's one individual who's married, stable, secure, some growth is good, some, some increment is good, right? And I can grow, he can be an anchor of my team because he'll have the knowledge over a period of time that is unparalleled. Here's another person who very clearly wants to say, boss, I want to grow technically, right? Security and all doesn't matter to me. If I am not learning in a technical environment, this is not where I want to be. This is a very classic balanced guy. I want something of everything. And this is perhaps the norm in many cases. Okay. And what I learned over time is many people think they're balanced, but they're not. If you probe them a little more, a favorite question that we have started asking is, who's your role model? But because the minute you ask them to role model and you push them to identify a role model, it will help that person understand what really they are. This is not a question that most people have even thought of themselves. Okay. Most people are just taking life as it comes, a day as it comes, a project as it comes, a team as it comes, a company as it comes. But beyond that, they haven't really figured out a journey path that they want their career to take, which is sad. In fact, I would say nobody had this kind of an interaction with me when we were young. But clearly, it's really worth the exercise and worth the time investment. And then here's another case, a guy who's very clearly saying, I want to grow up the hierarchy. I want to grow technically. Both are equally important to me. Okay. For this kind of a person, you have to give him technical growth. You also have to give him some more people every year so that he gets that expectation met, that objective of his met, where he's seeing some growth happening. Correct? So it becomes, so you have these conversations. We now do these once every 6 months, and we try and understand what is happening, how is the person's mindset working. One great other thing which I learned is that compared to the earlier very superficial discussions that we used to have in the appraisal time, this makes it a lot more substantial and a meaningful conversation to have with people. Because now you're making a genuine attempt to understand what are they made of, what is in their mind. So one is the career orientation, the other is the contribution. And from Professor Durr's work, same person's work, what it says is that, hey, people go through this cycle. People start from zone A, they go to zone B, they start saturating and stabilizing in zone C, and by zone D, they're ready to quit. So if you feel that people have started reaching zone C of where they believe their contribution cycle is, clearly you have to do something. You cannot leave that person. At that point of time, if you go and say, lean agile karte hain, let's do a stand-up and we'll do a 2-week sprint, it says, boss, spare me. I'm not interested. Let me go. Firstly, I want to get out of this project itself. So you got to understand both the orientation and the contribution cycle in which an individual is. The same cookie cutter approach just does not work. The same cookie cutter message just does not resonate with everybody. And unfortunately, in our space, this pattern is increasing, right? This challenge is only even, these cycles are even faster and quicker. Now, as we have learned in the last 2.5 years, this process takes time. It takes time for people to understand themselves and recognize where they are. The good thing is we have been able to make some people at least put a pattern and a thought process going in terms of what are they expecting from their 3 decades career. Career orientations will change over time as people get married, stabilize, have family, have kids. Career orientations will change over time. Liabilities change, family commitments change. It is perfectly okay for career orientations to change. Some people will never build a dominant orientation. They will never be 100% sales guy. And that's perfectly okay. But importantly, nobody will have only one orientation. That is absurd. Okay. So if somebody is saying, hey, I just want growth or I just want to be on the technical track, probe them more. Say, okay, if I were to just give you this and take you tomorrow and let's say give you a great opportunity, but let's say make you move around, shunt around to a different city every 3 months, would you like it? I'll put you in an implementation environment. It's very challenging, but would you like it? And you will have an answer, yes or no. The problem that most management and leaderships make is they judge people based on their orientations. So they tend to say, oh, this balanced guy, theek hai, okay, chal raha hai, acha hai, farak nahi padta. And that's an absolutely an undesirable thing to do, because he's your long-term guy. He's going to be with you for the longer haul. You need to value him as equally compared to the guy who's your sales hunter or your technical geek master. Both of them need to be valued. It's just that one needs to understand where they will have a fit with the purpose that they are in working in your organization. Once you do that, then your message will resonate with them. You will get the kind of response and the interest, and their body language will start changing because they're humming along. What they want to do is what you are giving them the opportunity for. And we have had a very dramatic success with this. Now, I am not saying, I can't say this is not 2 + 2 = 4. So I can't say this is the only thing that has mattered. But whether it is this or whether it is our attempt to just have that conversation and try and do something, whether people think that, hey, it's an organization that is at least sensitive to what we want and what we're doing. But our rate at which people used to leave us has come down hugely, which is a great thing because we're a product company. For us, our IP is critical, right? And every time we lose people, our IP is gone. So it's been a great success for us in terms of being able to, really make an impact. So in summary, we need to have an aggregated approach, which is across taking all your team's feedback and understand, are you fit for purpose for your people? Identify the segments that you really value and the segments that you do not value. And then have clear policies for you to be able to move from not being satisfactory to the satisfactory market segment for that segments that are valuable for you. Okay, and like many other things, you can't do 20 things at the same time. So you can prioritize which one is where, which one you can really focus on. So in the last, for example, in the last 1 year, we have pretty much trained almost 2/3 of the organization into a new technology stack, new ways of working, new automation platforms and tools, bring AI and ML in so that, again, there are new elements of technology there, so that everybody gets an opportunity to be able to work in a new technology segment. Because remember, that was the key message that they were telling us for 2 years at a stretch. And I hope that when we do this again in January this year, we will see a significant part of that need addressed. Use the fit for purpose approach to understand that macro level need, but do understand an individual's career orientation and their contribution cycle to be able to understand what's going on in their mind. Are you really fit for purpose for them or for the team, for that organization? Don't assume they're all the same mold. That's being grossly unfair. So that's what I had to share with you all today. I hope it has been of value to you. It is giving you some tangible, executable approach that you can actually work within your teams or within your organizations, whichever level of influence you have. And, would love to hear from you if you try it out and see what your experience has been of using such an approach. So that's where I will end today, and I'm open